Good afternoon. My name is Kelly. This presentation is for Park University's CIS601 System Analysis and Design. We are here to address the statement that different software development methodologies, SDMs, have varying effect on product outcomes due to their distinct approaches and principles. But that's also to say the different variables of each project affects the outcome even if the same method is used. I would like to give my understanding of software development methodologies, what they are, how they came to be, and why they matter. We can better understand where we go from here. Generally speaking, early systems, both software and non-software, were linear, uniterated, and flat when compared to today's systems. Ford is viewed as a pioneer in mass production. If he didn't invent the process, he adapted it into the basis of what we can call now the production line. This is not only for cars, but is the root of how almost everything is created today. It is where iteration, or the process of it, began. Following World War II, an awakening of innovation swept throughout all industry: finance, military, agriculture, communications, construction, and computing, everywhere around the world. And thus, new methods and standards emerged to more fully establish methodologies. At this time, waterfall was the primary method. The waterfall methodology emerged in the late 1950s and 1960s. It was initially described by Winston Royce in a paper titled Managing the Development of Large Software Systems. And he presented this in a symposium in 1970. However, it had been used since the early 50s. Rice, however, he wasn't a fan, even though until waterfall, the methods that were being used were called code and fix, prototype, and evolutionary development. These were norms at that time. Besides being problematic, they were slow and expensive and imprecise. To understand what this really means, we must not only look at the different methodologies, but also the projects and the times themselves. According to Raja, Sharim, Matthew, Shugman, and Vija, the choice of methodology should align with project goals, team capabilities, and organizational culture to ensure successful project delivery and customer satisfaction. The waterfall model gained popularity in the 70s and the 80s, and as a structured approach to software development, it was characterized by a linear and sequential process where each phase of development is completed before moving to the next phase. Now, these phases would be the requirements gathering, design, implementation, testing, deployment, and then maintenance. The model assumes that requirements are well understood and can be frozen early in the project cycle. Now, pause that. At the same time, another methodology was emerging, which wasn't basically software, but it was very important to the culture of industry. And this was in the 1950s. A statistician named Deming developed a methodology called total quality management. And total quality management is extremely important when we talk about software development because integrating TQM principles into software development practices achieves much higher quality, efficiency, and customer satisfaction. Moving forward in time and into more complex systems, the waterfall method was falling short because it was great at cookie cutter type projects, but it had real important limitations in adapting, handling variables, or change. In other words, it wasn't agile. Despite these challenges, the waterfall model may still have relevance in certain scenarios where the requirements are well understood, the environment stable, and it's basically unlikely to change in any significant way. Industries with strict regulatory requirements or projects with fixed budgets and timelines may find the waterfall model suitable. The Agile methodology, as we know today, began to formally take shape with what was called the Agile Manifesto. It was delivered in 2001. Its aims were to enhance the speed of delivery, flexibility, and adaptability in software development. But what's that mean? Well, it allowed for adjustments to the project scope. It also allowed adjustments in timelines, priorities, and allowed updates without significant disruptions or delays. It focused on small, manageable, incremental changes, collaboration between teams, and specifically customer feedback. Going back to Ford, and the reason why I mentioned him is because he had a motto. When asked if his customers could have their car in whatever colors they liked, and he said, sure, they can have their colors in any color they like, as long as it's black. So he used the waterfall methodology, which doesn't allow for those kinds of changes or alterations to the end product, which, as it turns out, is a big downside. I'll use an example that we're all familiar with, or at least we've used this environment many, many times, and that would be with Microsoft NT, which is now Azure. In 1993, NT was developed using the waterfall model. It was the common approach for large-scale software projects at that time. However, with the rollout of NT4.0 in the mid-90s, they began to adopt the agile and iterative practices, such as more frequent releases and collaboration between development teams and testing. This led to quicker improvements with enhancements to the control panel, improvements in layout and visual design, usability and accessibility, bug fixes, and security updates. I specifically recall when DES went to AES. It was a huge deal. And that was done in an agile methodology way. Full-fledged DevOps was a model that was quickly embraced after Windows 2000 came out. And it was after the development of Windows 2000, there was a strong shift from waterfall with agile tendencies to full-fledged DevOps principles. And this is when it formally hit the stage for Microsoft. Microsoft, by the way, did not develop DevOps. They are contributors to it. Anyway, DevOps allowed for the huge expansion of cloud computing, automation, scalability, collaboration, stronger collaboration, and infrastructure as code. I have more to study about that, but these are the characteristics of DevOps as Microsoft uses them today. To summarize, the method used is critically dependent on the objectives, the project scope, timelines, variables, and the desired result. It's important to understand that this is because in most cases, a hybrid is the best solution. Well, overall, and in the end, the choice of methodology depends on factors such as project complexity, team dynamics, customer requirements, and a desire between flexibility and predictability. It might take some imagination too. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation, and I look forward to your feedback.